Most of the monuments and paired gravestones that you'll see in Pleasant Grove Cemetery are united by family connections. By contrast, a simple lawn-level grave marker and the naturalistic stone marker next to it are linked by intellectual and academic kinship. The cremated remains of historian Michael Kammen, born 1936, died 2013, are buried next to those of a fellow Cornell historian of an earlier generation, Carl Lotus Becker, born 1873, died 1945. Carl Becker taught modern European history at Cornell University, his career bookended by 2 wars. He came to Ithaca in 1917 during World War I and was affiliated with Cornell until his death in April of 1945, months before the end of World War II. While at Cornell, Becker wrote more than a dozen books, including influential works about the Declaration of Independence and Enlightenment thinkers. Becker was a gifted writer and thoughtfully explored the craft of history. He is known and widely quoted for his 1931 talk, "Every Man His Own Historian," given when he was president of the American Historical Association. He argued that the production of history is rooted in its time. Quote, "The history of history is a record of the new history that in every age rises to confound and supplant the old," Becker asserted. "It should be a relief to us to renounce omniscience, to recognize that every generation, our own included, must inevitably understand the past and anticipate the future in the light of its own restricted experience." Even given these limitations, Becker argued, historians still had a valued role to play in informing the present and the future. In 1940, Becker delivered a lecture for Cornell's 75th anniversary. He introduced the phrase freedom and responsibility to describe the university's unique intellectual tradition. This phrase has since been used as the university's motto. Becker argued for the need for academic research to embody and reinforce democratic values increasingly under threat. After his retirement in 1941, Becker became Cornell's university historian. His history of the university, Cornell University, Founders and the Founding, was published in 1943. The Carl Becker House dorm on Cornell's West Campus serves as a reminder of the historian's impact on the university he served. Historian Michael Kammen joined the Cornell faculty in 1965, the year that the Cold War conflict in Vietnam erupted in all-out war. The popular professor taught American cultural history and laid the foundation for memory studies, an academic field of study that explores what we choose to remember and memorialize as individuals and as societies. In an echo of Becker's view of history, Kammen wrote that, quote, "What people believe to be true about their past is usually more important than truth itself." Kammen had a wide-ranging intellect and was a prolific author and editor. In 1973, he won a Pulitzer Prize in History for People of Paradox, an inquiry concerning the origins of American civilization. Kammen was also interested in burial practices, especially reburials, as acts of public commemoration. He explored this topic in his 2010 book, Digging Up the Dead, A History of Notable American Reburials. Douglas Greenberg, one of Professor Kamen's former graduate students, described his mentor's connection to Carl Becker and how the two came to be buried side by side in Pleasant Grove Cemetery. Quote, "Michael fell in love with Cornell undergraduates and, unsurprisingly, the history of Cornell as well. He was soon in the thrall of Carl L. Becker, the eminent historian who had epitomized the Cornell tradition in an earlier generation." Becker was wide-ranging in precisely the way Michael would be. Becker wrote a doctoral dissertation on the American Revolution that shaped scholarly debate for most of the 20th century, and authored several books of sublime essays on problems of historical writing and thinking. Michael was taken with Becker as a historical thinker, referred to him often throughout his career, and would soon edit Becker's letters, which can still be read for their wisdom on everything from the travails of graduate education to the relationship between history and politics. When Michael died, his wife Carol buried him in an Ithaca cemetery next to Carl Becker, so the two could be together in death as they were in life.